Chapter 21. And it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard which was in Jezreel, hard by the palace of Ahab king of Samaria. And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house, and I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it, or if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money. And Naboth said to Ahab, The Lord forbid it me, that I should give the inheritance of my father unto thee. And Ahab came into the house heavy and displeased, because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken him. For he had said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down on his bed, and turned away his face, and would eat no bread. But Jezebel his wife came to him, and said unto him, Why is thy spirit so sad, that thou eatest no bread? And he said unto her, Because I spake unto Naboth the Jezreelite, and said unto him, Give me thy vineyard for money, or else, if it please thee, I will give thee another vineyard for it. And he answered, I will not give thee my vineyard. And Jezebel his wife said unto him, Dost thou now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise, and eat bread, and let thine heart be merry. I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name, and sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters unto the elders and to the nobles that were in his city, dwelling with Naboth. And she wrote in the letter, saying, Proclaim a fast, and set Naboth on high among the people. And set 2 men, sons of Belial, before him to bear witness against him, saying, Thou didst blaspheme God and the king, and then carry him out and stone him that he may die. And the men of the city, even the elders and the nobles who were the inhabitants of his city, did as Jezebel had sent unto them, and as it was written in the letters which she had sent unto them. And they proclaimed the fast, and set Naboth on high among the people. And there came in 2 men, children of Belial, and set before him. And the men of Belial witnessed against him, even against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying, Naboth did blaspheme God and the king. Then they carried him forth out of the city, and stoned him with stones, that he died. Then they sent to Jezebel, saying, Naboth is stoned and is dead. And it came to pass, when Jezebel heard that Naboth was stoned and was dead, that Jezebel said to Ahab, Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, which he refused to give thee for money, for Naboth is not alive, but dead. And it came to pass, when Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, that Ahab rose up to go down to the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, to take possession of it. And the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, Arise, go down to meet Ahab king of Israel, which is in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, whither he is gone down to possess it. And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, Hast thou killed, and also taken possession? And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, In the place where dogs licked the blood of Naboth, shall dogs lick thy blood, even thine. And Ahab said to Elijah, Hast thou found me, O mine enemy? And he answered, I have found thee, because thou hast sold thyself to work evil in the sight of the Lord. Behold, I will bring evil upon thee, and will take away thy posterity, and will cut off from Ahab him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left of in Israel, and will make thine house like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Ahijah, for the provocation wherewith thou hast provoked me to anger, and made Israel to sin. And Jezebel also spake the Lord, saying, The dogs, and of Jezebel also spake the Lord, saying, The dog shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel. Him that dieth of Ahab in the city the dog shall eat, and him that dieth in the field shall the fowls of the air eat. But there was none like unto Ahab, which did sell himself to work wickedness in the sight of the Lord, whom Jezebel his wife stirred up. And he did very abominably in following idols, according to all things which as did the Amorites, whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. And it came to pass, when Ahab heard those words, that he rent his clothes, and put sackcloth upon his flesh, and fasted, and lay in sackcloth, and went softly. And the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, Seest thou how Ahab humbleth himself before me? Because he humbleth himself before me, I will not bring the evil in his days, but in his son's days will I bring the evil upon his house. We see here what a wimp Ahab is, and just how morally corrupt Jezebel is. Now, at first glance, it may seem as though, now Naboth, a fellow named Naboth, has a vineyard right hard against the palace of Ahab and Jezebel. And Ahab seems to make a fairly fair offer to this guy. I will buy it from you, or I will, for money, or I will give you another vineyard for it. There is a problem with that, however, because this is his inheritance. And you are forbidden by the strictest, most basic law of selling your family's inheritance. And so Naboth reminds King Ahab that he cannot sell. It's illegal. The Lord forbid him to do that. And Ahab goes into his house, falls down in his bed. I'm not going to eat, whatever. And he's pouting because he can't get this thing. Now, what you probably don't know is that Ahab already owns over 85% of all the land in the kingdom where he and Jezebel rule. Over 85% of it. And he wants to get this little bit left, and he's having a fit because he can't get it. Jezebel comes in, says, "What's the problem? How come you're not going to eat bread?" In other words, how come you're not coming to dinner? And he tells her, and she says, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll look after it." So she sits down. She writes off some letters. She has some, I don't think she wrote them, but she had some letters written off to the elders in the town where Naboth lives. And the letters basically said, hold a feast for him, and then set him up on a high place, and then have a couple of sons of Belial. These would be morally corrupt people, people who would lie, cheat, steal, take bribes, whatever. It also meant people who were like Sodom and Gomorrah type men. But it also meant this liars, cheaters, stealers, people you could bribe, people you could buy to do anything. And have two of these guys show up and say that he blasphemed God. Well, if you blaspheme God, that was worthy of stoning. And two guys show up and say you did this. There wasn't a thing Naboth could have done to prove he didn't. They took him out and stoned him. He's dead. Then think about the morally corrupt elders who actually did this, knowing that it was a fraud, a lie, totally. They were as guilty of the murder as Jezebel was. Maybe more so. Anyway, so they get the elders send word to Jezebel and Ahab that this Naboth who's a problem is dead, and they can take she tells Ahab he can go take possession of the orchard or the vineyard because Naboth is dead. And Ahab goes down, and only who is there? This Elijah guy again. And Elijah tells him, basically, you murdered this guy. Now, that comes as a real blow to Ahab. I wouldn't think. I mean, after all the stuff he had done, after all the babies that had been burned to death, all the people that had been sacrificed to the gods that they worshipped, all the rest of us, I would not have thought that anything would have affected him. But apparently, this matter of Naboth did. And so he repented slightly. And so the punishments that were going to happen in his lifetime, he was told were going to happen in his son's lifetime. Well, Elijah was told that. But he was also told the dogs will lick thy blood from off of the ground where Naboth was stoned to death. Sometimes the Lord can have really exquisite punishments for those people who have been particularly mean and particularly miserable and particularly unrepentant. You don't ever want to get in that kind of situation, because how exquisite you know not the pain would be.